Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to another stepping stone. Today, I am wandering a random park in China, but that's not the focus of this video. I actually really want to mostly talk about things. And in particular, I want to talk about how I'm realizing that wandering and my therapeutic wandering series I've been doing lately is actually kind of like my antidote to a lot of the problems I see in modern society. Let me explain what I mean. I'm gonna try my best here. There's more people than I thought around, a lot of retirees. I'm out here with the elderly, and there's square music in the distance. But I'm gonna try my best to walk in a relatively quiet area and maintain my composure. I'm feeling a bit nervous, a bit anxious. I usually struggle a lot with talking about serious things while also being amongst people. But I've come a long way. But basically, for the past week or so, I've kind of figured out a little name for what I do, and I've called it therapeutic wanderings. And essentially in those videos, if you haven't seen them, what I do is basically try to push my comfort zone, try to be authentically myself, and just wander around and explore a place that I'm interested in. Now, for most of those videos, I have felt a lot of disappointment because I feel like none of them really picked up much traction. But at the same time, that's okay, and I feel like it's not as triggering or intensely emotionally evocative evoking as it used to be. And even though there's less feedback and input externally, I do feel really freaking good about it internally. Holy moly, that's kind of cool. And I've realized that I feel like I've kind of found my niche. I've kind of found something that really resonates with me, and that really feels right, and that really, I guess, is something that I believe in, and that I feel that the world needs. And so, that definitely doesn't mean everyone needs it. I think, I'm a very particular subset of Americans. I was born in '99. I grew up with the older technology, but also, growing up, I lived through some of the more crazy shit, like the cell phone. I guess all inventions are kind of crazy depending on when you experience it. But, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel like I kind of had a taste. I got that taste of life before it was super dominated by technology and by screens, as well as life now. And I guess something I'm realizing, I've been thinking a lot lately, and I've been kind of watching a lot of things that have a lot of videos or podcasts and stuff that have really had me reflecting on what I'm doing and what the biggest issues facing the modern world are, and kind of how I can play into it, and in my own way, in a way that's meaningful and purposeful and something I believe in. And I feel like I've really been enjoying, and I've been feeling really good about what I'm doing. And I feel like in a way it's not for everyone, but I feel like if you're like me, I grew up. Okay. lost my lost my train of thought. Too much pressure, man. Too many people. I'll leave that in. The first thought was like, oh, I need to cut that out, but I think that kind of adds to the authenticity and just the realness of it. And I think that's part of what I'm trying to get at is like, I feel like we've reached a point, not for everyone, but for a lot of people who are online, and if you're like a gamer or were a gamer like me, you know, there was a point in my life where I was very consumed by video games. I think that's one thing. I think another thing is social media, and I feel like that's honestly the worst, the worst one. And I've kind of been thinking of all these different things, all these different problems, like pornography addiction, parasocial relationships, male loneliness crisis, like dating crisis, all these things. And I feel like I'm kind of seeing this connection where like, I feel like a lot of our problems come down to knowing ourselves and like reclaiming like what is ours, like reclaiming our mind. Now that might sound a bit weird, that might sound a bit what's the word? A bit whoosh, a bit you get what I mean. I'm trying to say that, you know, not to sound dramatic, but I feel like I heard this line recently of like, you know, in the past humans try to colonize each other, they try to conquer for resources, other shit, whatever. But, you know, with the invention of nukes, you can no longer really do that quite as much without as much risk. And so people have gone from external to internal, you know? A phrase I've heard is like, there are people who are colonizing our minds. And, you know, the word colonize has a strong undertone, perhaps, a strong denotate, I don't know the word, connotation. Maybe some people clicked off. They're like, oh, this guy used the word colonize, unsubscribe, dislike. And it's funny because that's exactly kind of what I'm getting at, is like, we are able to shape, or people are able to shape our realities more than ever. And, you know, I think that was always kind of the case. Part of that is certainly just like the human mind and the human psychology. Like, you know, there have always been people who take advantage of people's fears and people's angers and people's ignorance and stuff like that. But I feel like one of the biggest issues I'm seeing, and I think it's like honestly the for me the most scariest aspect of like the way humanity is trending, or at least it feels like it's trending, because feeling is very different from it actually being. And that's kind of the point I'm getting at, is that, you know, our perception is our reality, and I feel like a lot of us have become very passive in what we perceive. And I think a lot of that can be, you know, kind of neutral or maybe even positive at times, but I think it's a very dangerous thing in the sense that I feel like there's never been a point in humanity where our minds and our thoughts and our beliefs can be so shaped and influenced. And it's kind of like, it's kind of busted, it's kind of broken, because like, it's really hard, man. Even if you recognize that like social media and all these algorithms and all these dopaminergic pleasure-based things are like fucking your life, you know, that's something I've always kind of realized and believed for a very long time. And I try to be very balanced, and even I struggle with this kind of thing. I think I've really kicked off and kind of found my way in the past few months, but it's hard, man. And it's kind of scary and kind of sad and kind of angering, because I feel like as an American, I feel like we have a lot of value and emphasis placed on like being an individual and being responsible for your own choices, which I believe we are responsible for our own choices. The problem I see now is that I feel like all these algorithms, all these things are literally like designed to keep you addicted and keep you engaged. And I feel like the results of that are just so unhealthy on an individual level, but so unhealthy for a society. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone's like permanently online or like has no balance in their life online. A lot of people certainly do. But I also know that there's definitely a lot of people who spend a lot of time on social media, on TikTok. And it's kind of ironic. I mean, on YouTube, like I'm here, I'm on YouTube. You're watching me through a screen too. And, that's part of why I try to be like long form, and I try to be very honest and raw. And I'm really liking how this is going. I might just toss this on in one big clip. Although hopefully I don't choke from all the pressure that I'm now feeling, because it's like, oh God, I haven't fucked up too bad yet. And there it is. Oh my gosh. But yeah, our perceptions are reality. And it's just, I feel like, in a functional society, we should be able to rely on and trust that the figures above us will take responsibility, right? Or like will help us, Like, I think there's two parts of this. There's the systematic issues, which I think are very real and very important. But I've always been of the belief that, I don't really believe in encompassing like the victim mentality. I don't think that's super helpful, because in the sense that we do have a lot of control and autonomy over our lives. That's not to say that real problems and real victims exist. Absolutely. And I guess that's all vague pleasantries anyways. and that's part of the problem I feel like we're at, is like I feel that on both sides, I mean, I don't even really like to use the word sides. I think as a society, we've kind of internalized a lot of these extreme perceptions of what people are like. I feel like there's so much like they, them, like, oh, now they're saying there's 46 genders, or like, oh, like, okay, I don't want to get too like political, but it's really not like a one-side issue. I think it's something that's concerning for all of humanity, all of society, and it's not even just in the US. I think it's kind of like a global issue, at least like global modern societies. But I mean, I feel like cell phones and social media are so prevalent almost everywhere that it's one of the scariest things right now, especially with AI, the ability to create things and just that are literally just fake, and like it's so dystopian. And I think a lot of people use that word so maybe it's lost some of its meaning, but I truly feel that it's one of the most dystopian, scary things out there right now. And I think it makes social media so much more, like, so much worse. That there are literally people who are using AI to purposefully make content that makes you angry, like rage bait, right? I feel like, just this morning I saw this channel, this video. It was like rage bait. It seemed like rage bait. It went viral. It was this guy like evading like border patrol and like not pulling over for them. It was clearly staged, as I did a bit of research. But I realized as I watched it for like a minute or two, I was like, wow, like what the fuck, like this is kind of crazy. Like, is this real? Like, I actually thought it was real. I remember liking it, and I was like, wait a minute, like, I don't know if I should like this. Like, I don't even think this is real. This might be rage bait. Started looking into their channel, and sure enough, it wasn't like AI, but this person seems to do skits, and it's usually very controversial things. And sure enough, the most viral and the most engaged with content on his Instagram was these videos that are like super controversial, kind of like rage baity and shit. And I feel like, I guess part of where I feel like it's a systematic thing is like, I think it's so destructive that not only that these things are allowed and exist. I mean, that's like a whole other thing. I don't know what the right solution is. I'm mostly trying to just talk about it, share my thoughts, and have a conversation. But I think one of the things is like, it's not just like tolerated and allowed. Like, this kind of content, I feel, is actually incentivized. Like, you are rewarded for making people really angry and making people like engage with something that is purely designed to have them engage with it. Or to make money, or to get famous, or whatever, And I don't know, man. It's funny because I need to be careful too, because what I see online is not reality. This isn't like a huge issue for everyone. And that's kind of the weird thing about it, is like online social media, like, it's not real, but it can like become real. And I was yesterday watching a podcast, and just for mentioning who this podcast was, I'm sure there would be people who click off and who feel very strong emotions that make them turn off from my message or from me, or maybe even attack me. But I think it's important to be honest more than ever. And I try to see different perspectives. I think it's a very, very important thing. I have a mission on this channel, which is to inspire people to be more curious, connected, and understanding of themselves, each other, and the world around them, so they may live a more healthy, harmonious, authentic, and fulfilling life. Be unafraid to dream and be unrelenting in the pursuit of their dreams. That is like my mission. That's like my North Star. Everything I do, including this video, including the therapeutic wanderings I've been doing, are aligned with that mission. And I think that's part of why I love it so much. And so I think it's very important, and it's kind of like the skill that is increasingly rare and like difficult to have and to yield, which is like, or wield, which is like having the ability and the willingness and wantingness and openness to like listen to or talk to someone you completely disagree with. I feel like part of it, I remember reading or hearing about like a study that was talking about how over the past, like, I think it was like 10-20 years, like our generation has like plummeted in a lot of very important and like, it's like kind of scary like character traits. Like, we've lost our what's the word, conscientiousness, like agreeability, like adaptability, like all these things that like are generally just very great skills and healthy skills to have as a human. But we're like, I mean, not everyone, but some people are like losing that. And I think there have been times in my life where I was losing that pretty hard too. I mean, a huge part of why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I'm at is because I was someone who, at one point in my life, I felt very lost and life was very meaningless, and I was kind of just on autopilot, and I was addicted to video games and pornography and terrible relationship, like all these things. I was like rock bottom, and I didn't want to live that way anymore. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there, and I hope someone of them is watching this, that, you know, they agree with all these issues. They're aware of all the problems, but they don't really know what to do about it. And I just realized I didn't get to something I was trying to say earlier. So let me mention, there was a big internet beef. Maybe you heard about it, maybe you didn't, depending on how online you are. But there was like a drama between like two creators in Japan, and one of them was like trying to show like, oh, like there's so much more trash and graffiti in this area of Japan, like it's concerning, it's kind of scary, like what's going on. And then someone else who lives in Japan, and I think they both care about and love Japan deeply, but they ended up getting into this big feud. And you know, one of them, I watched some of their videos. One of them was critiquing the other one for using like AI to make the graffiti worse in their thumbnail and all these things. I didn't follow it too deeply, but I know that it was something that kind of went viral and blew up, and for the worse for both of them. You know, there's positives. There's a lot more conversation going on around that. It sounds like there's movements to try and help and solve, I don't know, the issue, if we want to call it that. But something that really struck me about one of their videos was some of the reflections at the end, in which they talked about feeling that they actually hated, like, you know, one of them, they basically use a lot of like very clickbaity titles and thumbnails. And they mentioned that like they actually hate that. They hate that they have to do that, but they feel like it's necessary. And this is something that I've felt very strongly for and seen for a long time, and I feel like it's going to keep happening. Is like, I feel like a lot of people fell into this trap, this cycle of just continuously making things more sensationalist, more crazy, more controversial, like more clickbaity, more edited, more artificial. And I felt like there was a lack of like realness and like authenticity, and it kind of sucks because maybe even this video will hardly see the light of day, and it's definitely not a video that will be prioritized or incentivized for YouTube to show to most people. And I think that's kind of the issue, is like a lot of people, we've kind of passively, I feel like, gone along with this like moving of the goalposts, where, and this is not just, I mean, this applies to like algorithms and content, but I feel like it applies to so many other realms of life. And it's a scary thing, and I think it's extremely unhealthy and concerning. And basically, I lost my train of thought. That's basically what happened. Give me 3 seconds. Shit. Give me 3 more. Okay, I got it. Basically, I feel like this video that I'm making, and that hopefully someone's watching right now, it's not what many people want, but I feel like it's what a lot of people need. And it's always such a weird like thing to say, because it feels like it's coming from, I feel like people are gonna be like, oh, like get off your high horse. You're coming from like a, you know, might feel I'm coming from a place of like trying to be superior and all these things. It's really not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to come from a place of like concern. And, you know, I guess part of what I'm trying to show, and part of what all this talking comes down to, is like I feel like the videos I've been doing recently, I've enjoyed so much, and they've been so healthy and fruitful for me, you know. And I feel like for a lot of these issues that I'm talking about, they solve so much of them, or they help and assist with so much of them. You know, I feel like more than ever, there is a very important need for a lot of things. I mean, I've touched on so much, But I think more than anything, we need to take back responsibility for our own lives and for what we put our attention to, right? I think a lot of us, I feel like people don't realize just how powerful and important our perception is. Like, what we perceive is literally becomes what we believe reality is. And if you're seeing like the most heinous, toxic shit online all the time, every day, you're going to believe like that is reality. And a lot of times it's not a conscious thing. And I think it's very scary, very concerning. And I feel like I've been very happy and content with the results of what I've been doing, because it helps me to get outside, to exercise. That's one. I mean, even this video, that's part of what I love about this. You know, I had a job that I really loved long ago, where I basically walked people home at night. It was like a safety service at my college campus. And I really loved that job. And for a long time, I was like, I've always kind of thought back, it's probably my favorite job ever, and I've always kind of thought back and been like, man, like, what made that job so special? There's some element of like the nostalgia and like the newness and college life, but I've kind of come to realize like it kind of just captured everything I would want, mostly from a work. I think what I'm doing now, funnily enough, is exactly like what I want, because I chose it. I got rid of all the noise and all the conditionings, and I locked in. And I you know, it was a long process. That's basically what my whole channel is. But I feel like I really figured out myself and what I want and what I choose to do. And I think that job captured a lot of that too, though. You know, I walked a lot. I was getting a lot of exercise, which is just great and super healthy, of course. I was talking to people. I was having conversations with people from all over the world or all over the country, which was always very fascinating. It's something I've always really loved, is being curious and trying to understand the world and understand other people, other perspectives. Third would be like the camaraderie, the brotherhood, you know. All my coworkers, I mean, there was a lot of like drama and stuff. I never really partook or was involved in any of it. But for the most part, everyone was like really chill and friendly. And I feel like it was a really nice social space. And it kind of got tainted towards the end. But that was something I really enjoyed too. And I think fourth was it gave me so much time. Like, there was so much downtime where it's just me, myself, and I, where I'm just chilling and existing and like thinking or processing or reflecting, or like, you know, all these things. Maybe texting a friend, or if I really wanted to be cheeky, trying to call a friend. Although I'm technically not supposed to. Probably. Don't come after me, bro. But anyways, that job was awesome. And I kind of realized that, you know, I mentioned that like social media and like video games and shit kind of ruined me. And they did. I think that all began around like 8 years ago, or 9 years ago, when I first made a Snapchat, when I first made an Instagram, when I first made a Kick, which at first I actually really, really enjoyed. And it was really fruitful and really helpful. But eventually, I think, as with anyone who uses social media, I think the thing about it is you know, I kind of lost my own confidence and my own sense of self, and I became more and more focused and perceptive of, oh, like this is gonna go online, or going to these friends, like, what will people think? What will it seem like? What will I seem like? And I think that's kind of the crux of the issue, and one of the things that I feel so unhealthy about social media. It's beautiful. It's amazing in a lot of ways. It's incredible that I can follow and connect with and talk to people from all over the world. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I mean, I'm literally in China right now. But it's also just so harmful and so damaging, and it was really the beginning of the end for me. And before I got on social media, and even early on when I was on it, what I realized was, for a lot of my life, I realized that was some of the best, happiest, most contented times of my life. I've talked about this before, but I felt extremely self-respecting and self-loving and self-confident. And for years and years afterwards, I just couldn't really put my finger on it. Was it just that life? Was it just that I became an adult and things got harder? What changed? How did I go from being so self-confident and loving and respecting and just feeling so authentically myself to feeling so lost and miserable and clueless and out of control? And I've kind of had this realization recently, this epiphany, that I think really what it comes down to is getting rid of noise. And it comes down to the whole perception thing again. It's being very mindful and careful about what we perceive and what we focus our time and attention on and our energy on. Back then, I was extremely happy and content. And content is a better word. I was extremely content just doing things by myself, just like this, just like my videos. Mostly just me, myself, and I. Just doing my own thing, looking like a weirdo, embarrassing myself in public. And I feel like, while it maybe is, I don't know, weird or might attract a lot of judgment, maybe it won't. It's extremely helpful. It's extremely healthy, and I intend to keep going. And back when I, was late high school, before, everything I just mentioned, back when I was doing really well, I did a lot of hiking, solo hiking, going for walks. Biking was a huge one. I did so much biking. And I realized that I think that's really what it was. I think that's really it. I think being on your own and learning to be in touch with and in tune with yourself, and also getting rid of the noise and all the conditionings and expectations, I think there's just something about that is absolutely necessary and healthy and just incredible. And I feel like I've finally kind of gotten back to who I was back then, when I was peak, I peaked in high school. And in that sense I did. I peaked in feeling the most authentic, healthiest, loving version of myself. I peaked in high school, and I feel like I'm finally back, and I feel like a lot of those issues I'm responsible for myself, and I'm certainly doing everything I can to keep myself healthy and content and all these things authentic. And there's all the systemic stuff, all the societal stuff. I don't really agree with it. I think it's very healthy. I think it's very concerning. Unhealthy, very concerning. And I hope that we can spark some conversations. And it's certainly something I'll talk about a lot, because I feel like it's something that isn't going away anytime soon. And it's very meaningful and fulfilling and rewarding to talk about. But I guess that's it. I guess that's what I was kind of getting at, is these therapeutic wanderings, these wanderings in general. I feel like, for me at least, they've truly been the antidote to so many of these issues and problems that I feel have arisen. and that I feel plague a lot of modern society. And I guess I intend to keep going. There's no stopping now. I'm very excited for what's to come. I think I just need to find the right people. I think I need to find the people who really resonate with what I'm saying and my lived experience, and who share that, because I know there's a lot of them out there. So if that's you, what's up, man? I didn't punch you. Sorry, I meant to fist bump you. Give me a fist bump, bro. Oh my gosh, I felt a bit cringe. But that's okay, man. That's okay. Just gonna notice it, sit with it. Take a deep breath. It's alright, man. It's alright. I can't control what people think. And I don't want to be controlled by what people think. And I think that's also one of the things that's just extremely liberating and just helps me feel so at peace with myself and what I do. Anyways, that's been a stepping stone, guys. I'm here in Qingdao, China once again. There's probably people who clicked off the video because they heard the word China. Or maybe not. Maybe that's also me getting a skewed perception of reality because of how much time I've spent online, I spent so much time on social media for a few years of my life, and I know for sure that it kind of fucked me up and fucked up my perception of reality, along with other things. But that's too much to get into for one video. But there you go, guys. I'm really proud of myself. I'll probably have to do 1 or 2 cuts, but otherwise, I think I kind of nailed that shit. Can I get a fist bump? Can you give me a fist bump, bro? Oh my gosh. I feel my mind being like, people are going to think I'm arrogant. It's okay, man. Just observe, recognize. I'm just trying to be proud of myself, man. It's okay to be proud. There's a difference. But yeah. I think with every day, with every video that comes, my past and my social traumas and all these things control me less and less. I think soon there will be a point where these aren't really therapeutic because they aren't healing me anymore. It's about growing. I feel like I've done so much work, and it's not the typical work. It's not going to lay pipe on a road or that's a weird example. It's not working a job 9 to 5, whatever. Nothing against that. But this is just what is authentic to me and what I love, and I'm actually feeling very proud of what I've chosen to do. I don't make any money off this, but it fulfills me in every other way that I believe in, and it provides extreme cognitive resonance, and that's really all I want for myself and for someone and everyone hopefully out there, that you find a way to live your life in a way that's authentic to you, in a way that's healthy, in a way that's harmonious, that is socially positive. But I just feel like there's too many things that are social negatives, man. They're detrimental, and I feel like we need to have conversations about all those things, and we need change. But it starts with us. It starts at an individual level. So I hope individual to individual that I helped change your life, or that I help provide some value of some sort. That's really about it, I say, as I'm 39 minutes in. But that's the beautiful thing, man. Even if no one watches this, and with every video I do, even if absolutely no one watches, it is extremely, extremely helpful for myself. And I just can't stop. There's no stopping now, man. So, hope to see you again. Thanks for coming by. If you're new here, what's up? Welcome. Hope to see you around again. And I think for realsies this time, that's going to be about it. Peace out from China. I probably missed a few little things, but that's okay. It is what it is. And yeah, alright.